What is the purpose of an education? As a young college student, that's a question that comes to mind quite a bit. Is why am I doing this? And as we look back on the history of the world and humanity, in times that education was offered, it seems that as a general trend, those individuals that receive this education were given greater opportunities in life, and this often led to greater jobs and successful ways to lead their lives. However, as we all are well aware, that in the times we live in, these types of jobs and industries are developing very rapidly due to the development of technology. These types of jobs are always changing. And I believe that our educational system in many ways is not up to par or up to date with the ways that our technology and the job industry are changing. And I wanted to first off kind of talk about this picture we see. Obviously, we see that it's that it's a library. We don't know if it's public. And for centuries, this was the source for knowledge and truth and study and understanding. It wasn't always the most easily accessible thing in the world. But as we are all well aware, that in today's world, we have access to all of these resources and much, much more in a device so small that it can fit into our pockets. Thus, we see that the ability to obtain information is not the daunting task that it once was. And with that, our emphasis on teaching and learning needs to adapt as well. To go over this, I wanted to talk about a test that I recently took in economics. In my economics class, I felt pretty confident going into the test on the materials and ideas that we were going over. And as I took the test, I felt confident on every single problem except for one. And that question was, which country manufactures the iPhone? And I was debating between Japan and China. And I knew that our professor had it on one of his slides, but my memory wasn't serving me very well at that moment, and I couldn't recall, and I chose Japan. Come to find out that I was wrong, and China was actually the correct answer. And just out of curiosity, once I found that out, I just looked on my phone and asked Google which country manufactures the iPhone. And sure enough, Google had the answer there, that China is the country that is the main manufacturer of iPhone. And that was kind of a interesting moment for me. It made me wonder why in exams that were asked questions that are so easily accessible through the click of a button. Obviously, we know that this information and knowledge is easily accessible. And if the goal of our exams is to have students study and memorize information to take the exam and do well, we know that we will forget that information just as quickly, if not quicker, than how we retained it. And that leads me to my first point, which I believe that memorization of simple facts is an out-of-date tool, and that it needs to be replaced with application and collaboration. And I also believe that most assignments should be optional. And that sounds like a pretty bold thing coming from a young college student. And I'm sure that if this policy was enforced, that I would have many best friends as fellow students on my side. However, this idea is much more profound than what meets the surface. As we focus more on understanding rather than task and assignments and getting things done, we focus more on learning. And to kind of apply that, I wanted to talk about last semester. I was in a Math 1010 class. And in this Math 1010 class, in between every class period, we had 2 online and 2 bookwork assignments. And so basically every night we had quite a bit of homework we had to do. So we had to stay on top of things. And as we all know, the answers to most of the bookwork assignments are in the back of the book. And so most students in this class would simply, when they'd get their assignment, look in the back of the book, write down the answers as quick as they could, and get done. Their goal in doing this was not to learn the material, but simply to do well enough on the assignments, to do well enough in the class to pass. However, currently I'm in a Math 1050 class, and in this class there's no required assignments. And when I first heard that, I thought it was just the biggest present that I've ever received. However, I've came to a more profound understanding of why that's such an important thing, to not have required assignments. I've noticed now that when I study, I'm not studying to hurry and get something done with the least amount of effort possible. I study so that I can understand the material well enough to be able to apply it. And that is the method of true learning and the way that we can prepare for our futures. So in conclusion, I just wanted to say that I believe that our educational system needs to be adapted to the way that our world and technology is advancing. And I believe that as we change from memorizing and simple busy work tasks to applying and collaborating, that we will be more prepared for our future and make this world a better place to live in.